Welcome back to the show. I want to start today with a headline you've seen at least 3 times this month and probably won't stop seeing for a while. A tech CEO announces sweeping layoffs, thousands of workers cut. The reason given to the press, almost word for word, is the unstoppable efficiency of artificial intelligence. The algorithms can do the heavy lifting now. We just don't need as many humans anymore. Roll the obligatory stock photo of glowing circuit boards. Today I want to interrogate that story because I've spent the week buried in a stack of economic reports, worker interviews, and actual productivity data, and a very specific narrative emerges from the numbers. It is not the one running in the headlines. The question I want to answer for you plainly is this: is the robot apocalypse already at your desk, or is something much more mundane happening behind the corporate curtain? The short answer is both, but in a really specific ratio that should genuinely change how you think about your career, your investments, and the next 12 months of headlines. AI is absolutely changing certain daily tasks. We can't deny that. There's a real productivity story in certain specific corners, and I'll walk you through where it's actually working. But the idea that broad, white-collar layoffs are being purely driven by sudden AI productivity gains, that is highly questionable. In a lot of instances, the data points to AI functioning as a convenient cover story. CEOs dealing with very traditional problems, pandemic overhiring, weak consumer demand, intense pressure from Wall Street to cut costs, are now reaching for the shiniest available scapegoat. Let me walk you through the evidence, and then at the end, I want to share what I think the real career play is for the next 18 months. Let's start with a textbook example of this dynamic in action. Block, Jack Dorsey's fintech company, formerly Square. Earlier this year, Dorsey announced layoffs of roughly 4,000 workers, roughly 50% of the company's staff, half. He explicitly told shareholders that a significantly smaller team using their new AI tools could, quote, do more and do it better. The press dutifully ran the AI productivity angle. But here's what's missing from most of those write-ups. Before the announcement, Block had been suffering from a declining valuation for months. They had heavy exposure to an unstable cryptocurrency market. And as a payment processor, their declining transaction volumes were a clear macroeconomic signal. Fewer people buying stuff, less money flowing through the company. They were structurally top-heavy in a slowing economy. The company was, by any honest accounting, already in deep trouble before AI entered the chat. Right after Dorsey's purportedly AI-driven layoff announcement, Block's stock price jumped 20%. Sit with that for a second. A company with declining transactions and crypto exposure announces it's firing half its staff and the market throws a parade. Here's the perverse incentive structure underneath. If a CEO admits, "We overhired when interest rates were near zero and now demand is weak," the stock plummets. That sounds like mismanagement. But if that exact same CEO repackages those exact same layoffs as "we are optimizing into a lean, future-facing AI powerhouse," the market rewards them. Same humans gone, same business problem, completely different stock chart. The shiny buzzword is the difference between getting punished and getting bonused. That gap is doing a lot of work right now, and we're going to see it again and again before this is over. The financial incentive to claim AI involvement is so strong that we now have a documented term for it: AI washing. Companies dressing up ordinary operations in machine learning costumes because the market pays a premium for the costume. A few real examples from the last 12 months. The SEC fined 2 investment advisors $400,000 for falsely claiming they were using AI models in their investment processes. They straight up lied about it. Amazon faced public scrutiny over their just walkout cashless grocery technology, the system that supposedly used computer vision to track exactly what you put in your cart. It turned out to be heavily reliant on human workers in India, remotely reviewing the security footage, not autonomous AI, just outsourced labor with a futuristic interface. This raises an obvious question for anyone listening as a CEO fires half their staff and blames AI. Does Wall Street actually bother to check whether the internal algorithms work, or does it just buy the buzzword? The macroeconomic data is going to give us a brutal answer. When you look past individual company announcements at the national employment numbers, the statistical evidence of a massive AI labor takeover is just not there. Barely any. The Budget Lab recently ran a massive analysis using the microdata underlying the monthly employment reports. They used an econometric method called synthetic difference in differences. I know, it sounds like a Star Trek plot device. In plain English, what it does is create a mathematical parallel universe. Economists look at the employment trends of a specific group of workers before a major event, in this case the release of ChatGPT. Then they use data from jobs that aren't exposed to AI to forecast what would have happened in a timeline where AI was never invented. By comparing our actual reality to that parallel AI-free timeline, they can isolate the specific impact the technology is having on job losses. What did they find? No clear indication of an AI-related labor market footprint, specifically occupational churn, the rate at which workers are forced to leave their current field and find a completely new occupation, which is exactly what you'd expect if robots were displacing entire job categories, stayed completely flat, well within normal historical ranges. Maybe that just means AI is making the remaining workforce more productive instead of replacing them. Reasonable hypothesis. The productivity data is just as underwhelming. The Penn-Wharton budget model estimated that AI provided a microscopic 0.01% boost to overall productivity in 2025. That's a rounding error. And when over 6,000 senior executives were surveyed about their own internal operations, 90% of them reported absolutely no impact on productivity or employment from AI implementation. So the math just doesn't math here. If 90% of executives see zero productivity boost and the national data shows almost zero impact on occupational churn, what exactly are these laid-off workers being replaced by? They aren't being replaced by algorithms. The work is just falling onto the shoulders of the people who didn't get laid off. Pure workload dumping. There's a historical analog for what we're watching, and it should be reassuring or terrifying depending on your time horizon. When PCs first showed up in offices in the 1970s and 80s, you'd assume time saved would skyrocket immediately. Replace the typewriter with a word processor, productivity through the roof. Instead, productivity growth actually slowed across the broader economy for roughly 25 years. Upgrading the hardware is the easy part. Redesigning the entire workflow of a company around new technology takes decades of trial and error. Economists call this the productivity paradox. We are seeing exactly that friction with AI today. MIT recently reported that 95% of AI workplace pilot programs are currently failing. 95%. That's a catastrophic failure rate. Why? The structural answer is that companies are trying to force a probabilistic technology into deterministic workflows. Let me unpack that because it explains a lot. An AI language model is fundamentally a guessing engine. It predicts the next most likely word based on its training data. Superpowered autocomplete. But corporate pipelines, payroll, compliance, supply chain logistics, financial reconciliation are deterministic. They require an absolute, specific, correct answer every single time. You do not want your payroll system guessing your paycheck. When IT departments try to integrate a guessing engine into systems that demand absolute precision, they end up spending all their resources dealing with security flaws, data privacy breaches, and AI hallucinations. The pilots fail because the architecture is wrong. That doesn't mean AI is useless. It means most companies are deploying it into exactly the wrong context. There's a concept the researchers at BetterUp Labs introduced that I think captures the real day-to-day experience of working with current AI. They call it work slop. Think of the AI as a hyperactive, overconfident intern. That intern can generate 50 pages of code or a massive slide deck in 5 seconds. But if the intern doesn't understand the nuance of your specific business, and you have to spend 3 days finding the one line of code that breaks the entire system, did they actually save you any time? They didn't save you time. They created a new chore for you. WorkSlop shifts the cognitive burden downstream. The employee using the AI tool feels highly productive. They generated a report instantly. Job done. But the coworker who receives that output has to spend hours decoding it, fact-checking false context, or completely rewriting it from scratch. Back to Block as the real-world example. Their executives bragged on an earnings call about a 40% increase in code production due to their new AI tools. Wall Street loved the metric, but on the ground, engineers at Block reported that roughly 95% of that AI-produced code had to be manually tweaked by human developers because it failed to meet the company's architectural standards. And because of that required intervention, the time human engineers spent reviewing code increased by a staggering 91%. They spent almost double the time double-checking the machine's work, less time actually building products, more time doing quality control on sloppy AI output. A 2025 randomized controlled trial by Becker and colleagues backs this up perfectly. They looked at experienced open-source developers, people with an average of 5 years on mature projects, not beginners. The developers themselves confidently predicted the AI would make them 20% faster. In reality, using the AI slowed down their completion times by 19%. That disconnect between the perception of the tool and the reality of its implementation is the defining challenge of the current AI transition. I want to be balanced here because the picture isn't all critique. There are specific contexts where AI is genuinely delivering. The trick is understanding where the line is. Researchers call this the jagged frontier of AI capabilities. A study from MIT Sloan and Boston Consulting Group designed 18 realistic consulting tasks and gave them to highly skilled consultants. Some tasks were inside the frontier. Work AI is currently built to handle really well, like brainstorming concepts or drafting basic press releases. Inside the frontier, consultants using AI completed 12.2% more work, finished 25% faster, and human graders rated their quality 40% higher. That's a real productivity gain. But the tasks outside the frontier looked similar in difficulty on the surface. They actually required nuanced data analysis and human context the AI didn't possess. For those tasks, consultants using AI were 19% less likely to produce correct solutions compared to a control group using traditional methods. The mechanism causing that quality drop was blind trust. The AI had performed so beautifully on the brainstorming tasks that consultants fell asleep at the wheel. They assumed the AI could handle complex analysis. They didn't double-check the logic, they submitted flawed work. The researchers noted that the successful AI users, the ones who avoided the trap, fall into two profiles. They called them centaurs and cyborgs. A centaur divides the work clearly, delegates well-defined tasks to the AI, but handles complex, nuanced tasks themselves. A cyborg integrates with the AI at a granular level, constantly interacting, tweaking, verifying line by line. We also have to give credit to a 2023 study by Brynjolfsson and colleagues that analyzed over 5,000 customer support agents using a generative AI conversational assistant. Access to the AI increased the number of issues resolved per hour by 15%. That's a real number. But the breakdown is incredibly telling. The most experienced workers saw almost no gain at all. The AI drastically leveled up the junior staff and improved the English fluency of international staff, allowing them to resolve rare problems much faster. That's the genuine story. AI is delivering today inside specific structured environments. It's leveling up junior staff. It's making customer service more efficient. The Challenger report shows that in early 2026, AI was explicitly cited as the reason for roughly 13% of all job cut plans. McKinsey found a third of companies genuinely expect enterprise workforce decline of 3% or more from this technology. It's just nowhere near the "we don't need half our staff" story that justified blocks layoffs. There's another data point that quietly destroys the AI replaced our workers narrative. A 2026 study by Frank and colleagues analyzed unemployment records and millions of LinkedIn profiles. They confirmed that employment in AI-exposed white-collar jobs is indeed stagnating. But here's the critical data point. The deterioration started in early 2022. ChatGPT wasn't released to the public until late 2022. The decline in these specific sectors started months before the generative AI boom even hit the mainstream. That tells us something important. Broader macroeconomic forces were already hurting these white-collar jobs. During the pandemic, when interest rates were near zero, tech companies hoarded talent and overhired massively. When inflation hit and capital became expensive in 2022, a tech contraction was inevitable. AI just happened to arrive at the perfect moment to become a convenient, innovative-sounding scapegoat for a painful economic correction. And then there's the capital reallocation story. A handful of tech companies spent nearly $500 billion on AI infrastructure in a single year. $500 billion. To justify that level of capital expenditure to shareholders, the technology has to eventually eliminate millions of jobs and create unprecedented corporate efficiencies. The math just doesn't work otherwise, which raises a structural question financial analysts are quietly tracking. Are companies firing people because AI is actually capable of doing the work today? Or are they firing people to free up the capital required to build the data centers they think they'll need tomorrow? The specific phrase "shifting budgets toward AI investments at the expense of jobs" appears verbatim in the Challenger report. A significant portion of these current layoffs are less about immediate algorithmic productivity and far more about companies desperately reallocating capital to secure their seat in the AI arms race. The narrative that AI is a human-replacing juggernaut isn't just a marketing pitch anymore. It is a structural financial necessity for the valuations of these companies to survive. Penn Wharton estimates that 42% of current jobs are potentially exposed to AI automation. That's a huge number. But we have to distinguish carefully between task automation and full job replacement. An employee is basically a collection of hundreds of micro-responsibilities. An algorithm might be able to draft a quarterly update email or format a specific spreadsheet. That might be half your daily tasks. The company still needs you to drive strategic vision, manage client relationships, and as we discussed, fix the work slot. When management confuses task automation with job replacement, you get severe work intensification. Look at the human reality for the blocked employees who survived the layoffs. One employee told reporters, "You cannot simply automate the vision and strategy required for the role." Yet management is forcing them to try. Workers reported being evaluated on their AI proficiency. They faced immense pressure to use the tools even when traditional methods were undeniably faster and more efficient. The sources call it AI fatigue. Imagine the psychology of that workplace. You survive a round of cuts where half your colleagues are let go. You're dealing with immense survivor's guilt. Your workload has quadrupled because the AI isn't actually picking up the slack. And management keeps insisting the algorithm will fix the operational bottlenecks any minute now. One data scientist quit her job despite being offered a dramatic pay increase. She said it felt dystopian to be forced to train the exact tools management intended to replace her with. And this rush to implement AI before workflows are redesigned isn't just burning out employees, it is actively damaging customer relationships. Block's chatbots were making severe, unforced errors. They were telling customers to wrongly cancel or close their accounts when customers reached out for routine support. An algorithm can mimic the structure of a conversation, but completely lacks the human discernment to understand client distress or nuance. So let me bring all of this together with a question worth genuinely sitting with. If 95% of AI pilot programs are currently failing, and companies are drowning their remaining workers in the cognitive burden of fixing AI-generated work, what happens in 12 to 18 months? What happens when Wall Street looks at the balance sheets and realizes that the companies who fired half their staff don't actually have the automated productivity to sustain their output? When chatbots have alienated the customers? When the engineers spending 91% more time on code review can't ship the products that justify the next earnings report? I think we're going to see something most people aren't predicting. A panicked rehiring wave, companies frantically bringing back human experts at a massive premium just to fix the broken code, patch the deterministic pipelines, and salvage the angry customer relationships the algorithms left behind. The Penn-Wharton model does expect that eventually about 23% of exposed tasks will be profitably automated. But the timeline is years away, not quarters away. There's an enormous gap between what's possible eventually and what's possible by the end of the next fiscal year. So here's what this actually means for your career, regardless of which side of a layoff you're on. Don't wait for the CEO's cover story to come for your department. The best move right now is figuring out how to be the essential human who knows how to spot the structural damage underneath, the one they have to hire back. Position yourself as a centaur or a cyborg, someone who can clearly delegate well-defined tasks to AI, but owns the complex, nuanced work yourself. Build deep domain expertise the algorithm cannot fake. Develop a reputation for cleaning up the work slop other people generate, because right now the machine still desperately needs you to tell it what to do, and in 12 to 18 months, your boss is going to need you to clean up the mess when the illusion finally breaks. Thanks for going down this one with me. Pay attention to who's holding the keys. I'll see you on the next one.